Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Wildcard. I'll be your host this week, Matt. You can follow me on Twitter at MattFFDynasty. And first off, I'll start by introducing my first co-host, Kev, who you can follow on Twitter at Dynasty_GOAT. How are you doing, Kev?
Yeah, not bad. I've had a few internet issues just before the show, so apologies for being a couple of minutes late. It's my fault. But other than that, pretty good. It's been snowing outside, which is fantastic.
Absolutely. The weather's definitely took a turn for the worst over here recently. And I'll start by introducing my second co-host, Ali, who you can follow on Twitter at FFDynastyGrill. How are you doing, Ali?
Yeah, really good, Matt. Thank you. Yeah, cold as well. Been hailing and snowing again here today, which is a bit odd for April. But yeah, I'm excited to have our guest on tonight.
Absolutely. We've got a great show coming up tonight. So before we start, I just want to give a shout out to a sponsor, which is SilverFX. SilverFX is the leading supplier of bespoke teamwear, including podcasts, sports clubs, universities and schools. Choose from SilverFX's own bespoke range, modified designs, or customize your own from scratch. You can get your own team shop, which means no more order chasing, and it's all completed securely online with speed and efficiency. We at the Fantasy Wildcard, we have our very own merchandise store, bringing you our fantastic logo brands across multiple, Kev pointing it out, across multiple different items, including hoodies, hats, jackets, t-shirts and shorts, plus many more. So be sure to check out SilverFX on Twitter at SilverFX_sports and their website, www.silverfx.co.uk. Thank you. So, this week we are joined by a very special guest. She is co-host of the Fantasy Football Confidential, host of The Speakeasy, contributor for the guys over at Dynasty Rewind and Sons of Dynasty. She is a lover of all things kicker related and truly, see what I did with that? Truly. I'm like Kev with the bad jokes. Truly one of the most genuine and witty follows on Twitter. We give a warm wildcard welcome to Linda. How you doing, Linda?
I'm doing well. Kev said, he had some internet issues. I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I had to power through. I've been looking too forward to this to try to reschedule, so I'm ready to go.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, Linda, and obviously let us know if you are going to throw up or pass out, because I'll then put you on full screen. It'll be a great bit of putting us out there, and yeah, we can get a bit of branding off you doing that. So, Kev, before we crack on with the show, I know you just wanted to give another shout out to a streamathon that's coming up later on.
Yeah, so first of all, welcome to Linda. Thanks for coming on and battling the various issues we've had today with my internet and your sickness. But yeah, this is just a quick reminder. We've got our very first Fantasy Wildcard charity streamathon on Saturday, the 22nd of May. Please see our pinned tweet on Twitter at Fantasy Wildcard for more information. We have started taking donations to raise funds for our chosen charity, Mind, who specialise in supporting people with mental health challenges. I'm sure you can all agree it's a very relevant charity with the struggles we've had with the global pandemic over the last 12 months. And we're currently at 8% of our target for donations. So please do get involved and support this charity via Just Giving, either through our link tree on Twitter or searching Fantasy Wildcard on the Just Giving website. We are delighted that today's guest, Fantasy Royalty Linda, will be part of the finale with fellow fantasy football king, Troy, who's also part of Fantasy Football Confidential. So that's going to be a fantastic finish to the streamathon. I'm very excited about that. So be sure to check it out. 16 hours of Dynasty talk, amazing guests, and supporting this great charity. Thank you all.
Absolutely. Right. So on today's show, we'll be getting Linda to give us her NFL draft dreams. So basically her ideal landing spots for some of this year's incoming rookie class. And then we're going to evaluate those players from a dynasty point of view. So we'll jump straight in with the first player, and we're going to start at quarterback. Now, we know obviously Trevor Lawrence is pretty much guaranteed to be going to the Jags at pick 1. But then beyond that, it's a bit of a mess at which quarterback's going to go with where. Obviously, Zach Wilson's been highly regarded to be going to the Jets. But we're going to start with a guy that I've seen all over the place when it comes to a quarterback, but he has arguably one of the highest upside when it comes to fantasy football, and that's Justin Fields. So, Linda, where would you like to see Fields land?
I asked if it was dreams that are realistic or like I won't go into explicit, but I asked if it was like realistic dreams. So I did try to keep this mostly realistic. I like Fields a lot. Obviously, he's been talked a lot on the internets right now, and I don't understand what the fading him is at all. But if the Denver Broncos traded up to 4 and took Justin Fields, as much as like I have hope for Drew Lock and I want to root, like if he's a quarterback next year, then I'll be all over him. But if the Broncos ended up with Justin Fields, I mean, they have every other piece of that offense put together between Sutton, Judy, Hamler, Tim Patrick, Melvin Gordon, Fant, Albert O. The defense is ready to go. The quarterback is like the biggest question mark on that team. So a guy like Justin Fields that does everything on the field, oof. Boy, everybody would have to mute me. It would be obnoxious.
Yeah, I love this stream landing spot. It's actually mine too, so check us out for being awesome. He's my dynasty QB2 in this class. It's extremely close with Lawrence for me, actually. I think if you go back 6 months, it was a debate whether it was one of those two, but now he has dropped to QB5 in some spots, which, like you said, Linda, I think it's pretty strange, really. I think people are overthinking it. I do think it will be a huge upgrade on Lock, and I do think Fields is talented enough to support the various weapons you mentioned, Judy, Sutton, Fan. He's actually the QB8 all-time in my college model, which is fantastic. I think he's an underrated passer. He's a superb runner, which we know is king for fantasy production early on. So I see Fields being an instant QB1 in Dynasty if he did end up with your Broncos.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I can actually see this being the realistic landing spot for Fields, the way that they're talking about him dropping in the draft, which, again, I can't understand. For me, I'd be all over him at number 2 if I was the Jets, but that's just me. So, yes, it is the perfect spot for Fields with all the weapons that you've said. I really think they're probably just that QB away from really competing this year, which would be nice to see. So, yeah, he's the QB2 in this draft for me, and it's always been between him and Lawrence 1 and 2. He gets that sort of extra rush and yards, which is obviously key when you take him in your fantasy leagues. So yeah, if he lands in Denver, he's now done 102 in Superflex drafts. But my little hot take is I wouldn't begrudge anyone for picking him 101 ahead of Trevor Lawrence. I like him that much. So Linda, question for you: if he does land in Denver, whereabouts would he fit in your dynasty ranks?
So I do like a lot of mock drafts in the off season. Like, first of all, it keeps me from joining every startup I get asked to join, but also it's nice to know where rookies are going to go in startup drafts. And Justin Fields been going usually right at QB 11 to like QB 13 ish. I think with the questions going on in Houston and with their quarterback situation, that's going to knock him out of the top 12. So I see Justin Fields being a QB1 if he lands in Denver, somewhere in the QB1 to 12 area for me without much hesitation. And I actually totally agree with your hot take. If he lands in Denver, just with those weapons compared to what the Jaguars have in terms of weapons, then I have no problem taking him at 101.
Yeah, I think I'm just as high on him as well. In my dynasty rankings, I'd probably slot him in around QB 9, 10-ish, that kind of area. You just, as you say, you can't deny that upside that he has. The supporting cast that he'd be getting in Denver with Sutton, Judy, Fant. Then also, as you just mentioned, the rushing ability that he's got, that's going to give you that safe floor. And I'd take him over guys like Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, all those guys that I've got around that 10 spot. I'm taking him over all them just because I think that the upside that he has is, as Linda says, who knows where it stops. It can go right up to the top for me with the ability that he has. So we'll move on then to the next quarterback, and that's Trey Lance. Linda, where have you got Trey landing?
I love Trey Lance. If Denver was in a position to take a quarterback and like take a breather of a year for him to learn, then I would be all over that. I just don't think we're in that position. And like as a fan base, the most impatient group of humans you've ever met. And I think Trey Lance needs to land somewhere that he can sit for half a year to a year to learn all rest of the things that he's lacking. But so Trey Lance to San Francisco makes me so happy. I think he has the highest upside in this class. I think he has the highest ceiling. I just don't think we're going to see it year one. So that's why Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields are being talked about so much more. But he's so, you want to talk about a dual threat quarterback, like Justin Fields has subpar running upside and excellent throwing upside. I think Trey Lance's running upside is so much higher than subpar. I love him a lot. So if he went to the 49ers where he could sit for half a year to a year, I think he becomes a much more aggressively sought after QB.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm extremely high on Lance. I've actually got him neck and neck with Justin Fields in my rankings. So I'm definitely on board with Lance. Obviously, as you said, he's probably not as pro ready as what Fields is. But it'd be a great spot landing with the 49ers, as you say, sitting behind Jimmy G for a year would be absolutely perfect for somebody like Lance. He has obviously only played pretty much 1 year of football. That was in 2019, where he threw 192 times, 2,786 yards, and then 28 touchdowns without a single interception. So I think that just shows the ability that he does have. But then, as you say, he's got that rushing upside, which is unreal. 1,100 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns, and 14 touchdowns, in 2019. So that's pretty much what Justin Fields has had in his entire career. Lance had that in 1 year. So the upside is unreal. It's just the kind of player that I think could fit perfectly with Kyle Shanahan and that offense that they have with the 49ers, obviously with it revolving around the running game. The only knock I would put on him is the level of competition he faced in college. Obviously, North Dakota State, it's not one of the massive schools over there. So that would be my only knock on him. But I just think that the upside is absolutely huge, and he could be one of the best quarterbacks in this class, I think, in terms of fantasy.
Yeah, I'm 100% on board with Trey Lance having the highest ceiling in the class. I think he's got such an intriguing skill set. He is very raw with only 17 stats, but he has got all that talent we can see. I think a redshirt season is most likely. I think with the 49ers, it's very interesting in terms of his coach and the various weapons that he's got there, and young weapons, and also George Kittle. It will be breaking the mold, actually, for the 49ers. Shanahan seems to go for these statue quarterbacks, Matt Sharp, Jimmy G, Nick Mullins, Matt Ryan. They're the sort of guys he's had success with in the past. I'd probably put Trey Lance on the Panthers if it was Kev's draft dreams, but I think the spread offense there would maximise athleticism, but I can't really argue with 49ers. It's an exciting option. I think it'll bring back nostalgic memories of Colin Kaepernick as well. I think it's a very similar profile to Justin Fields, to be honest, with sort of a similar profile, just a bit rawer for me. So my question would be in relation to Trey Lance potentially taking a redshirt year as a raw prospect. Where do you think he should go in Superflex rookie drafts? Are you comfortable with him as your QB2 in startups with the risk he could give you zeros all season?
I'm muted, which is good because I fumbled around my sentence anyway, so I'm glad nobody heard it. In startups that include rookies, I don't mind taking him as my QB2 and then taking somebody like somebody that's going to maybe play 1 year, like Sam Darnold late, like Drew Lock late, somebody like that maybe has one more year. And then if he takes a couple zeros, it's fine because you've got somebody there that you can at least play. In rookie startups, I have no problem taking, or in rookie drafts, I'm going to take him probably still at the QB3. But if I'm 103, I have no problem taking Trey Lance. If he fell to, I think I saw a note that said he fell to 111.
Wow.
That's another example of me being obnoxious afterwards. Like if you get if you get Trey Lance at 111, you talk about that all year. Like that's a victory lap immediately, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've also seen him go at 111, but I've seen him go as high as the 103. So it's fascinating where he lands. Probably works out where he's going to be taken in Superflex rookies, whether it's sort of the higher end or the lower end. But yeah, 111 is crazy for me because his upside is huge. It's so much higher than Mac Jones if that is going to be the quarterback for the 49ers. I can't quite believe it, to be honest. So yeah, I'm happy to take him fairly high, especially in a rebuild. I'm quite happy to take him so he can sit a year. And I think personally he needs to sit maybe sort of half a season, something around that, before he becomes a full-time starter. And I've got him. He can, to me, he can be every bit as good as Justin Herbert. So that's pretty high praise. I've got him. I think he's going to end up as a top-end QB in this league.
Absolutely. Right, so we'll move on to some running backs then, and we're going to start with Naji Harris, obviously the Alabama running back. Linda, where would you like to see Harris land?
Well, I'd like to see him land on the Steelers. And here's the thing. They didn't re-sign Connor, and I don't think they're going to. Benny Snell isn't a starting running back. I just don't – you're not going to convince me that he is. They definitely have some other needs. But I think helping Ben Roethlisberger out with a bruising running back and Najee Harris, he's just, you can't, it's hard to pick apart this monster of a running back. And so to put him back there when you can hand him the ball and give Ben a break, they threw the ball a lot last year, a lot. So I think that's like a pretty glaring need. I just don't know that it's going to happen, but I'd love to see it for fantasy.
Yeah, absolutely. For fantasy, it's a perfect landing spot for me. A contending team that there's a massive hole there. So from day one, he's going to get a big workload. Personally, I hope he falls to number 32. So the Buccaneers can take him, but I can't see it happening. But yeah, he's going to get the instant workload. So for me, he could be a top 10 running back straight away in 2021. He's 23 years old, so he's not got the time to sit and learn under a sort of an RB1. He's going to come in straight away. And he's got that PPR appeal where he had 43 receptions last year. So he's got it all really. So for me, it could be top 10 running back. I've got him ranked that highly for 2021 if he lands here on the Steelers.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think the Steelers is the perfect fit for Harris. As you say, they've been needing a running back ever since Lev Bell left. Mike Tomlin has always been a guy that's been happy to give a heavy workload to his starting running back. And I think with the traits that Harris has, he'll become an instant workhorse in my eyes. He's big, strong runners, as you've just said. And also now he's developed a little bit in the passing game over the last 2 years. He's had 70 receptions, 729 yards and 11 touchdowns over the last 2 years. So, as I say, just taking a step forward in that passing game. If I was going to pick a spot, it'd definitely be the Steelers or Atlanta. They would be another one of my dream landing spots for Harris. But I know, Linda, you've got somebody else a little later on that you'd like to see land with the Falcons. But I just think with the head coach, obviously Arthur Smith coming in, we saw what he did with Derrick Henry in Tennessee, and Harris, he just fits that mold that Henry had, and I just think he can handle that kind of workload. So yeah, between those two, they're the landing spots I'd love. Linda, if he was to land with the Steelers, where would you actually rank him in comparison to the 2020 running back class?
Man, and that's so hard because I love it. This is like, I'm not kidding. It's been a project that I'm working on, looking at the 2020 class and then what's happening with 2021. Mm-hmm. And I really like the 2020 running back class. Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, I think they're all in really good spots. But man, Harrison, Pittsburgh, maybe the only other running back I'm still going to, from 2020, that I would still take first is JT. I mean, wow. There's just not any competition for him if he goes to the Steelers. He's gonna immediately be a 3-down running back. I mean, I'd have to look. I might have to come back to that after looking a little deeper. But I'm not taking. There's a lot of PPR upside to some of the 2020 running back class, but I still think Najee just goes right after JT.
Love it.
That's super high. I love that. The bold take there, Lynn. That's spot on. I think I'm a little bit lower. He'd be running back 5 for me versus the 2020 class. Still got JT and Swift in the top tier. Akers and Gibson really high on them. They're pretty close. I think the question for me would come Naji Harris versus Dobbins. And ultimately, it comes down to situation for me. I think Harris would have more pass upside for the Steelers, less competition for running back touches, like you said. So I'd take Naji on the Steelers over Dobbins on the Ravens, although I think the talent level is really close to those two guys. But yeah, I think I'm a little bit lower than Naji than you, Linda.
Yeah, I think Harris is just a standout for me, I think, when it comes to this running back class. But we'll move on to the next guy, and that's Travis Etienne. Linda, I've kind of just hinted at it, but where would you like to see Etienne land?
Well, yeah, we talked about the Atlanta Falcons obviously need a running back. He's a fun addition to a team. Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst, Julio Jones, you've got for a little bit longer. Arthur Smith employed a couple different zone schemes when he was in Tennessee. And I think that if he brings that to Atlanta and pairs it with Etienne, who has that pass catching upside, and I think is going to thrive in a zone scheme offense, then I love that landing spot for him. Yeah,
this would be such an exciting landing spot, that high-powered offense with Julio and Ridley. There's a ton of touchdown upside as well. He got 78 at Clemson. Etienne's actually my running back one in the class. I think anybody with him not in the top two is overthinking it a little bit, similar to Justin Fields. Interestingly, his player profiler comp is to DeAndre Swift, so he's on that same spectrum as Alvin Kamara as well. So I think it's really, really impressive that he doesn't need those 25 touches to be an asset in fantasy. I think, like you said, he's got a huge pass catching upside, like both Swift and Kamara have as well. And I think Atlanta would be a great landing spot, and they do look in a prime area to be taking him early on in round 2. A personal preference would be for Arizona, but I don't think he'll be taken at 16, and I think 49 is too late. So, yeah, Atlanta would be a fantastic landing spot for Etienne.
Yeah, definitely a great spot here. Another team with a clear need at running back. I can definitely see them going for Etienne here. And if they do, I'd be excited to see what Arthur Smith can do with him. You see what he done with Derrick Henry on the Titans, made him a top tier running back. So he's my RB2 behind Harris, but he's closer to the RB1 than he is the RB3, which is Williams. He had huge production at Clemson, averaged 19.5 touchdowns a season, which is obviously massive. PPR appeal with all the receiving work. And if he lands on the Falcons, no doubt they'll give him a huge workload from day one. So really, to me, he's the obvious pick to go straight after Harris in the Superflex rookie drafts. So quick question for Linda. Where are you happy taking Etienne in your Superflex rookie drafts?
Well, actually, Williams is my running back 2, and Etienne is my running back 3. So back end of round 1 feels most comfortable. I've seen him fall fairly low in terms of where he was going maybe earlier in the off season. It's starting to, it changes so quickly. We're the most fickle group of humans. And so he's definitely at a more comfortable price now that he's going at the back end of round 1 for me.
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, this landing spot it's one of the ideal ones for the running backs. And for me, Harris is my nailed on RB1, but then, like Alice said, it's Etienne right behind him. So I think if he lands in this spot, I'm happy to take him straight after Harris. So that could be as high as the 105, 106 in Superflex drafts. I don't think there's much depth at the RB position this year beyond maybe the top 4 or 5 guys. So I'm happy to grab Etienne if I'm able to at that kind of position. I just think he's got that potential to be an RB1 straight away in 2021 in this spot. So I'm happy to get that kind of return in the middle of round 1 in my rookie drafts. So we'll move on to the next running back, which is Kenny Gamwell, obviously the Memphis running back. Linda, talk to me about Gamwell.
So this was a fun exercise. Just so you guys, this was a great show sheet. I had a blast filling it out. Some of it was hard, but it was fun. I did get Gamewell to the Buffalo Bills. I don't think Singletary is the answer. I know there are still some Singletary truthers out there, so I'm not trying to hurt any feelings. I just don't think it's the answer. I think it's too early to give up on Zach Moss. And I think Gamewell will be a good tandem next to Moss. He gives Allen another pass catching option in that offense. And he's so creative to get yards. So I think we saw a lot of Singletary and Moss not get to that second level. And with Gainwell's creativeness, he has a chance to get to that second level in that offense. And I think that's what they need if they're going to do an AB running back scheme.
Yeah, I agree. For me, I think he's probably the best pass catching running back in this class. Obviously, we know the success that Memphis running backs have had in the NFL. Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard, and Darrell Henderson. And it was actually Gamewell who was the reason why Gibson only had those well-documented 33 carries in college. It was Gamewell that was keeping him out of that spot in 2019. He ran for just under 1,500 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns, but then contributed through the air with 610 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. I agree with what you said, Linda. I think he's a running back that's going to work well alongside a bruising running back and in a bit of a committee. The only thing maybe with Buffalo is obviously Josh Allen. We know he likes to run it into the end zone, and that's always a concern that I have with basically any running back that's going to be on that Bills offense. So that could potentially cap his upside a little bit. But for me, my favorite landing spot would probably be Ali's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, Fournette, he's done okay as a receiver over there. Kev, I know Ronald Jones, I'm sorry, but he's not the answer in the passing game either. He's not the answer either. So, as you say, Linda, in a bit of a committee, I think Tampa could be a great spot and potentially be Brady's new James White over there.
Yeah, I really like Gamewell. He's my running back 4 in this class. Like you said, Matty kept Gibson off the field, and I think he is the best receiving back in the class. I see him as a third down guy, a split backfield type. He's actually pretty similar to Tony Pollard, the ex-Memphis running back. A bit smaller, but similar metrics and percentages that way. I'm not crazy on the Bills as a landing spot. I think that they should have added someone, a quality running back in free agency, someone like a Chris Carson or a Leonard Fournette, but I'd actually love to see him on the Jags just because I think he's a good fit with the spread, and I'd quite like to see the James Robinson Twitter burn. I think that'd be really funny.
Yeah, you're going to get some flack for that.
That would be fun.
So I just want to know, Linda, where is Gamewell in your rookie rankings, and what do you think his ceiling could be in Dynasty?
He's my he's my running back 4 in my rookie rankings as well, and I think because of his pass catching upside, he has that like Antonio Gibson upside where you're like in PPR, it's almost not a capped upside. Depending on where he goes, it could be absolutely insane. If he's, like you said, like a James White where you're getting dumped off to, and then he's making that play because he's so creative, it's almost an uncapped upside. I could see him making that leap next year that like Antonio Gibson's made this year in startup drafts.
Yeah, absolutely. Big Kenneth, he's my guy in this running back class. I've got him as my running back 4 as well. I did try and get him higher, but I just can't get him any higher than 4. And as Kev mentioned, he did keep Gibson off the field in college, which is obviously saying a huge something for Kenneth. And he's that awesome receiver. So in PPR, I can see him being a bit of a machine if he's in the right landing spot. The ceiling for me is Austin Eckler, someone who can have 100+ receptions in a season. I don't see that as being impossible for Gamewell. He's got sensational hands. I don't see that outcome on the Bills, but I can see why he would be a really nice weapon for Josh Allen. I'd love to see him somewhere like the Jets as a big playmaker for Robert Saleh's offense. I think that'd be pretty fun.
He's probably already the best Kenny G in the NFL as well, isn't he, Matt?
His miles behind superstar Giants wide receiver Kenny Golladay. What are you talking about? I think the upside's huge, obviously, with Gamewell, and I think Ali hit the nail on the head there with the Austin Eckler kind of role. I think that'd be perfect for somebody like Gamewell. So we're going to move on to the next running back, and we added this one especially for you, Linda. It's Chuba Hubbard. Where would you like to see Chuba land?
This is so painful because I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen, but I'm, living a dream on this. You put dream in the title. That's not my fault. I would love to see Chuba Hubbard go to the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan's done a whole lot with a whole lot less talent at running back. I think Chuba is so landing spot dependent, and landing on a team that does most of their running backs run out of another zone scheme offense. Like, I think that is the absolute best case scenario. The Jets are another team that I don't mind seeing him go to, but I think the 49ers would be like, I think everybody would have to re-examine their Chuba hate.
No, I completely agree. This is my dream landing spot for Hubbard. And if it was that case, I think he would he'd fly up rookie draft boards. I think he's currently sort of a early third round, late second round pick at the minute, just because of his upside. We saw that production in 2019 was unreal, topping the 2,000 mark. The 23 touchdowns, he looked like he was going to be a real star. So yeah, if he goes to Kyle Shanahan's offense, then the sky's the limit, really. So it's a match made in heaven. He recently ran a 4.36 40 times, so we can see his breakaway speed. And the 49ers offense is so good at getting running backs in space. It will be a scary prospect. And like you said, that Kyle Shanahan is good at making nobodies look like stars on that offense. So he's my RB6, just behind Matt's guy, Michael Carter.
I'm glad that you've still got Carter quite high up your rankings, Ellie. I completely agree with what Linda said. I think with somebody like Hubbard, landing spot's going to be absolutely key, and this landing spot's perfect for somebody like Hubbard. We've seen the success, as you say, that the 49ers have had with another speedy back in Raheem Mostert. We know the talent that Hubbard's got. As you say, that 2019 season was unreal with over 2,000 rushing yards. He did obviously dropped off a little bit in 2020, but I think we can create reasons for why he struggled last year. Obviously, he fell out with head coach Mike Grundy, and the ankle injury as well. I think that played him through most of the 7 games that he played last year. So I'm willing to overlook that dip in production in 2020, and I just think the upside is huge if he lands in the right situation. So, Linda, what do you think Hubbard's ceiling could be in 2020 if he was to land with the 49ers? Do you think he could be an RB1 straight away in fantasy?
No, this is going to kill me. So I don't think he'll be an RB1, but like I love a running back that I can take later that can be an RB2. And a lot of the leagues that I'm in play one running back and like then just a ton of flex spots. Mm-hmm. So he's a guy that I think he can be an RB2 if he lands in the right spot. I've watched this kid for 3 years, breakaway home run, touchdown runs. If he gets past you, it's game over. So he doesn't need to run the ball 3 downs in a row. I don't need him to do that. If he gets the ball once and breaks away and gets a 40-yard touchdown, if he does that once and then, a couple catches and a couple runs, and that's an RB2. I mean, he just doesn't need to be that bruising 3-down running back. So I think RB2 is fine, and I think you're getting him a lot cheaper than RB2 right now.
Yeah, totally on board with that, Linda. I think the first thing to consider with it is the draft capital that he gets. His draft stock's been all over the place, to be honest. Early day 2, late day 3, everything in between. So it's going to be really interesting to see which team does take him and whereabouts. Like you touched upon, outstanding as a sophomore and then a poor junior season. And interestingly, his player profiler comp is for Tevin Coleman, who's had a lot of success with Kyle Shanahan over the years. So I do love this landing spot. It would be mine as well. I think it's perfect for Hubbard's skill set. The flip side is the nature of Shanahan and the fact that he does like to have a few different running backs, and that they can sort of have blow up games at different times. I think running back 2 is spot on. I think that is his ceiling fantasy. I'm unsure if he could ever be an RB1, but I do like him a lot, and he is my rookie running back 5 in the class.
Yeah, I'm a little upset that Linda. I thought you might have thought you might have said RB1. I mean, it is your boy. I thought you'd have backed him up a little bit.
I get accused of homerism too often, so like I gotta bring it down a notch sometimes.
I like that you're keeping it realistic. And the upside, the upside's incredible. So even if he is an RB2, you've got that chance of him putting up an RB1 week every now and again. So yeah, absolutely love it. So we'll move on to the wide receiver class then. Start with the first wide receiver, arguably the top guy in this class, and that's Ja'Marr Chase. Linda, where would you like to see Chase land?
If I see one more mock taking Chase to the Bengals, I'm going to blow a gasket. I don't know how the Bengals don't go too well. Like, you have to protect your quarterback. He almost got killed last year. He might not even be ready for week 1. You have to protect your quarterback, and it's a deep enough wide receiver class that I think it's okay to not make that reunion between Chase and Burrow. So I want Chase to go to the Dolphins. Troy will be happy that I said that. But he's just, you have to surround Tua with some talent. You know, people are already trying to ship Tua out of Miami. People are like, he's not a good quarterback and blah, blah, blah. So the best chance to get people to stop that narrative is to surround him with weapons like Ja'Marr Chase.
Yes, Linda, that's why you're fantasy royalty right there. Now let's all do a prayer together and hope he lands with Tua and not Burrow. I think he's the clear rookie wide receiver 1 for me, and the third best wide receiver all time in my model. The highest graded since Amari Cooper in 2015. I think Chase is complete. He's a complete wide receiver, or as close to as possible. And I agree, Miami's the perfect landing spot. He'd automatically become the alpha in the offense, and it'd be a great complement to Will Fuller as well. And then the biggest bonus is it unlocks Tua's top 10 dynasty potential.
Absolutely, and thank God we brought on someone who's got a bit of sense. He's not mocking Chase to the Bengals. It's crazy. I really don't see it myself. Miami are in pole position at the number 6 spot, and I think it'd be a perfect fit for Tua. I think people are writing off Tua far too early, and I think he can be that QB1. I think he can be top 12. Isn't in the impossible for him. He's my wide receiver 1 by an absolute mile. Chase in this class. You've got to go a long way down to Devonta Smith, who's my wide receiver 2. So it's really hard to find any negatives when I was scouting Chase. He's got it all really. So if he does land on the Dolphins and Fuller can keep healthy, these are sort of at least the top 10 wide receiver duo for me. Obviously, he opted out of the 2020 season, but it's not hurt his draft capital whatsoever. So, a question for Linda: what do you feel the ceiling is for Ja'Marr Chase with Tua, and do you think he can finish as a high-end wide receiver 1?
I don't know about high end, because there's some wide receivers I'm at least in 2021, I think. But for Dynasty, yeah, in startups next year, I don't see him going any lower than wide receiver 6 if he lands with Tua. Like, obviously, in the next year, I still think there's going to be some competition at that high end wide receiver 1 number. But I think by the time you get to next year and dynasty value, then absolutely he's a top tier wide receiver.
Yeah, I agree with what you said, Ali. Is the clear wide receiver 1 for me, and it's by a long distance. From a talent standpoint, I think he's probably one of the most talented wide receivers we've seen come into the NFL for years. I think he's got every chance of being a high-end wide receiver 1 in Dynasty. As Linda said, maybe not straight away, but I can definitely see it in the future. And as we've just said, I think people are judging Tua far too harshly, going off his rookie season. He had no real supporting cast, and obviously coming off that hip injury as well in his final year with Alabama. I think we're being a little bit too harsh on Tua, and this offense is going to change completely in 2021, and it's going to take a massive step forward. I think Will Fuller is going to be the field stretcher, and I think that's just going to allow Chase to go absolutely nuclear with Tua at quarterback. So we'll move on to the next guy. Then we've just mentioned him, Devonta Smith. Where would you like to see Devonta Smith land, Linda?
Oh man, there's as many running back needy teams as there are wide receiver needy teams, but I'd love to see Smith go to the Eagles. That pass catching room is sorely lacking, especially if they lose Ertz. If they're going to roll with Jalen Hurts in order for him to succeed, I think the Eagles are going to have to surround him with more pass catching options. And the Heisman winner, he's stronger than his numbers show. He has the ability to create separation. I think as a whole, I think we've given up on the weight thing, the BMI thing. I think we've pretty much put an end to that, but still he's so much stronger than he looks like he is. And I think he would be an excellent weapon for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I know as resident Eagle fan, Kev over there, I can see him laughing. I know he's chomping at the bit to talk about this one, so I'll keep it short and sweet. As you say, Linda, there's no denying that the Eagles, they've got a need at wide receiver. Smith coming off a Heisman winning 1,800 receiving yard season with 23 touchdowns. There's absolutely no denying that he's one of the top options at wide receiver in this year's draft class. But I do think his opportunity, it hugely increased in 2020. Obviously, Judy and Ruggs coming into the NFL, and Jalen Waddle missing half of the year through injury in 2020. That kind of led to Smith being the focal point of that Alabama offense in 2020. Personally, I wouldn't be too happy with the landing spot for Smith, but that's more down to Hurts, I think, than it is to Smith. But I can see Kev nodding, so Kev, I'll hand it over to you to let rip on this one.
Let rip, nice. I think first of all, I'll just say I do love Devonta Smith. He's a mile off Jamar Chase, but I still really like him. He's my college wide receiver 7 all time. He's a little bit like a slim, fast Calvin Ridley. Similar style to him, in my opinion. And I do agree with you, Linda. I think 100% agree that the Eagles do need more weapons for Hurts if he's to have a chance. I just don't want him to go there because he'll end up getting ruined by Jalen Hurts, in my opinion. I think Hurts can be successful, but in my opinion, for him to do that, he has to be in a system like Lamar Jackson for fantasy. And we've all seen what happens to his wide receivers. I think he can be great for fantasy, can Hurts with his legs, but bad for wide receiver production. And I also think he's similar usage to Jalen Reagor, where he'd be playing the Z role and the slot role, which is playing off the line of scrimmage. I would expect more 12 personnel to supplement Hurts, and I do think if they had to go to a Ravens style system, it would be more 12 personnel. So, I think 2021 is going to be tough with Hurts. It looks like he's going to get the job. However, if you did say to me that the Eagles were going to be a guaranteed 3 wide receiver system where you could play Reagor and Devonta Smith off the line of scrimmage with a quarterback that can get the ball to him, I'd be fully on board, and this would be a fantastic landing spot. So my question for you, Linda, is if there's others like me with the worry about Hurts and the system, would you be willing to take a poor fantasy season in 2021 with Smith's long-term upside? And what's the highest you'd take him in a rookie draft?
First of all, I'm not a Hurts truther at all, and I'm sorry if I hurt any feelings, but I didn't. A little part of me would see, like, I'd like Pitts to go to the Eagles, but I don't want that because I don't like Jalen Hurts. So I had to kind of work around that. I don't mind taking Smith again in the back end of there's at least the top 3, maybe 4 running backs I'm going to take before him, I think, after Chase, and definitely Pitts and the top 3 quarterbacks. So back end of the first round again is a comfortable spot for me.
Yeah, same with me, really. We're talking dynasty. I'm happy to draft the talent rather than the landing spot. I think his talent is going to shine through in the end. You see rookies don't always hit it off year one. So personally, I'm happy to take him the 108 onwards. So I'm probably a little bit higher on him. I wouldn't draft him ahead of Chase, Pitts, the 2 running backs, and probably 2 quarterbacks. But if they've gone, I'll be happy to take him there. But yeah, I'm also not the biggest Hurts fan. I don't think he's the long-term answer, but I believe in the talent of Smith. So I'm still fairly high on him, even if he does land on the Eagles.
Yeah, I just want to, before we move on to the next wide receiver, I just want to say thank you, Linda, for sticking to the realistic target that we gave you. And we can't just set you up then, didn't we, for Kev to ambush you? But I appreciate that you stuck to the realism. And
I feel bad as well. I feel bad because she's a bit under the weather and that. And
I know, and you're
That's
bullying
okay.
her.
And
That's all right.
guest on our show, and I've just done that. I feel really bad.
Horrible. So with that, we'll move on to the next wide receiver, and then that's Rondale Moore. Linda, I know you told us you struggled a little bit with this one. Where would you like to see him land?
I feel like I'm going to get definitely more ambushed this time than I did last time, which is fine. I'm for it. I'm all for it. But I really did. There's not like a landing spot for me that makes Rondale Moore so exciting that like I'm going to go out and get him. Like, so I went with probably the most wide receiver needy team in the Green Bay Packers. They have, Adams is out there. He's big. He's going to get that most of the work anyway. So a wide receiver too, a small, speedy guy like Rondale Moore to give Aaron Rodgers another option is probably one of the best landing spots I can see for Moore.
Yeah, I agree that they are probably the most needy wide receiver team. I can't believe they didn't pick a wide receiver last year. So if they don't pick one this, if they don't pick one this year, I think Rodgers should just walk out the building. But I'm a little bit higher on Rondale Moore than you, Linda. He's my wide receiver 6 in this class, just behind Terrace Marshall. I tend to lean to bigger guys who are a bit more of a weapon in the red zone. But you saw his metrics were just unreal. He's got really amazing strength for his size and great contact balance. And he can play in a number of positions. So I could probably see him playing in the slots, and I think he'd be a hell of a compliment to Devonta Adams. So it's a really nice landing spot for me.
Yeah, I think the Packers will be probably one of the favourite landing spots for any of these rookie wide receivers. But as you say, I think Moore's just got those traits that would be an ideal fit for the Packers. I mean, his metrics are off the chart, unofficial 4.32 40 time on his pro day, breakout age of 18, which is 99th percentile. I mean, the dude can squat 600 pounds, which is like the weight of a large vending machine or a grizzly bear. So, I mean, he has got some power in those legs. That is a fact. He's just an explosive playmaker who can contribute not just in the passing game, but rushing the ball as well. In his career, he's had 1,915 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns, but then he's also contributed in rushing game with 248 rushing yards and 3 touchdowns. As you said, Ali, the big concern is obviously the injury history. I mean, he's only played 7 games in the last 2 seasons. But I can definitely see the upside when he's healthy, and the Packers could be what unlocks that upside. I'm even one up on you, Ali, and I've got him as my wide receiver 5. I'm a big fan of Moore. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Curtis Samuel, obviously, as I've just said, with that rushing ability he's got, and everybody was hoping that Samuel could have landed on the Packers. So to get somebody like Moore, I think that would be great. Linda, I know you've said you're not a fan, and would this spot maybe even tempt you to grab him in your rookie drafts? And if so, where would you feel comfortable taking him?
Man, I would. I would maybe take him if I knew I was in a draft with like the hype man for Rondale Moore. I am as unconcerned as I am about Smith's BMI. Add all that concern to Rondale Moore's height. There hasn't been a wide receiver under 5'8" or 5'8" and under that's succeeded in the NFL besides Cole Beasley. And I would argue that people only noticed Cole Beasley this last year, unless you were a Dallas Cowboys fan. Like he wasn't a fantasy commodity. So it's extremely concerning to me. And I know he squats 600 pounds. Maybe if he squatted less, he'd be taller. I don't know, but it worries me. So if I was in a draft with somebody that I knew was like really in on him, then I would do it and trade bait him. But I'm probably not going to have any, if very little, Rondale Moore.
Yeah, I think the Packers would be a pretty good landing spot for Rondale. I think it will bring back nostalgic memories of Randall Cobb, who was an effective runner and a Swiss Army knife at college, Kentucky. I think Rondale Moore is an early second rounder in rookie drafts. My wide receiver 6, and the only players I'd like him better than the Packers would be the Chiefs. But the flip side to that is if he did land on the Chiefs, his price just goes up like Mecole Hardman. So actually, I'm probably with you, Linda, and I'll take the Packers as well.
I saw Linda pulling a little face then. Linda, have you got something to say about Kev's comment there on the Chiefs? This is your chance to get him back. This is your chance to get him back.
I just don't like the Chiefs, so I feel like anytime anybody's like, he'd look better there. I'm like, ugh.
I thought you were going to come in and bury Kev then after he's just annihilated you earlier. Right, so we'll move on then. We've gone from one more. We'll move on to another more, and that's Elijah Moore of Ole Miss. Linda, is there a landing spot you'd like to see Elijah Moore land on?
I think if the Bengals will wait and not take Chase and then take a player like Elijah Moore, it allows them to beef up their O-line like we talked about. And then you've got a wide receiver that can be the wide receiver 3 learning behind Higgins and Boyd. And Boyd's a free agent next year. So if they don't want to keep him and Elijah Moore has proven to them that he can be that wide receiver 2 behind Higgins, then I love that landing spot.
Yeah, you've got me worried about Tyler Boyd, Linda. I took him in a dynasty startup earlier this week, but I don't know if you know, but some of his metrics, Elijah Moore's metrics, are very similar to Tyler Boyd. I know that might sound strange, because there's about 4 inches and 20 pounds between them, but things like the college dominator rating, the breakout age, the speed score, the film grades from NFL.com, they're all pretty much identical. So I do agree with you taking the Bengals not taking a wide receiver in round 1 is 100% the right thing. Ultimately, I see Elijah Moore playing in the slot, which is where Tyler Boyd plays. So it would be a worry if Boyd did stay there long term. But like I said, if he's a free agent after this season, he'd be a fantastic younger replacement to Tyler Boyd. So yeah, I think solid round 2 rookie pick for me with Elijah Moore.
Yeah, and I think the Bengals would be completely sensible to wait till round 2 to draft their receiver. I like the upside of Moore. He's my wide receiver 7 in this class, so just behind Rondale Moore. He's got that real top level burst and some really, really safe hands. I was really impressed with the tape that I was watching of him. It's his versatility for me that is what keeps me drawn back to him. And like you say, if Tyler Boyd does depart next year, he could really step in and have a much bigger workload in sort of year 2. I'd be excited for his prospects. So a similar question to earlier, but if Moore lands on the Bengals, are you happy to draft him knowing that he's likely down the depth chart in year 1?
Yeah, I'm an extremely patient human, and I always want every rookie to like succeed in some capacity. I still have Justice Hill sitting on some teams, so trust me when I say I don't mind a year or 2 of low production if I believe in the talent. So I don't mind at all sitting on a wide receiver for a year.
Yeah, I'm a bit like you, Linda. I mean, I'm happy to draft him just because of the talent alone. I would probably drop him down a little bit in my rankings because obviously we wouldn't be seeing too much from him in the early stages of his career, but definitely a guy I'd still be targeting. Kev just mentioned it. I think mid-second in rookie drafts, I think that's a fine spot to grab him. And then potentially a buy low option during the season. Obviously, if he's stuck behind Higgins and Boyd and not getting much game time, there could be owners that start worrying a little bit, worrying that they're not getting a return on their investment straight away, and that's when I'd be jumping in and trying to grab him. Before we move on, Linda, is that something that you try to do when you're trying to grab rookies? Are you happy to maybe not draft them, but then grab them later on if they struggle?
Oh yeah, especially if they, like I said, we're the most fickle group of humans. It doesn't take very long before we're done and ready to ship somebody off of our team. So anytime that narrative starts taking over Twitter and it's a person that I believe in the talent of, then I will absolutely pursue them and try to get it. Although I find that people talk down about a player, and then when you actually try to negotiate for said player, they're a lot higher than their perceived narrative.
Yeah, and it's always tough when you're as popular as what you're on Twitter, Linda. Everybody knows your secrets, don't they? Everybody knows who you like. So
yeah, it sucks. I got to start touting players I don't like.
So talking of players that you like, we've been nice to you, Linda. We've thrown in another one of your Oklahoma State boys, and that's Tylan Wallace. Where would you like to see him land?
I know we already talked about the Green Bay Packers. That's because I had to put an answer on Rondell Moore, but I'd love to see Tylan Wallace go to the Packers. He's a yak monster. His yards after catch are insane. He has great body control. He doesn't mind run blocking. He will do whatever they ask him to do. And because of his catch radius, I think he gives Aaron Rodgers just another huge red zone weapon, where Rondell Moore lacks in the red zone weapon option. That's Tylan Wallace's like huge upside for me. So I'd love to see him go there and play across from Adams.
Yeah, I know he's one of your boys, Linda, so I can't hate on you picking the Packers again for a dream landing spot. And
in fairness, I wrote I'm cheating on the show sheet, so
it's fine. We can let you off with this one, Linda. I just say he's a great talent. He broke out in his sophomore season in 2018. He actually finished second in the nation in receiving yards with just under 1,500 yards. Then missed half of the 2019 season, obviously with that ACL tear, but finished the season still with over 900 receiving yards. And then I think he kind of protected that knee, I think, in 2020, and he only played half of the season. But again, managing over 900 yards in just half a season. So I think it just goes to show that the talent that he has. He's a strong physical receiver, and I think he can be great as a wide receiver too, alongside Adams. I actually did a thread on Wallace a little earlier in the off season, and my comp that I had from him was a less twitchy Stephon Diggs. I just think because the build and the speed, it's all pretty similar to what Diggs has. Maybe Wallace doesn't have the route running ability that Diggs has, but that's what I can see in somebody like Wallace. And I know Kev, you'll like that one because you're extremely high on Diggs. So yeah. I'm a big fan of Wallace, and it's going to be really fun to see him in the NFL and what he can do.
Yeah, Wallace is such an underrated prospect. I think, like you said, amazing sophomore production. It shows the talent is there. I see Wallace as an arbitrage Rashad Bateman play, where you can get him at a cheaper price, but I think they're pretty similar prospects. Wallace is my wide receiver 7 in rookie drafts, and I think he's the ideal Z receiver. It'd allow Adams to play on the inside more and dominate even more. It's also a really strong landing spot being tied to Aaron Rodgers, who's future Hall of Famer. And it matches a definite need for the Packers. Like Linda said earlier, what were they doing last season? Not taking one, just taking loads of guys that couldn't actually help them in a win now mode, which was interesting. I actually went for the Titans for Wallace. Opposite the alpha stud, AJ Brown, but I can't argue with being tied to Aaron Rodgers in a place of need. So Green Bay's a great spot as well. But I am keen to find out where you'd rank him amongst rookie wide receivers, Linda. Obviously, wearing orange to match your Wallace and your Pokes. And also, when it comes to fantasy, do you prefer higher volume or quality QB play for your wide receivers?
So Wallace is my wide receiver 5, which I think is pretty fair. But I have Elijah and Rondell both lower than consensus. So that's where he gets that bump from me. Him and Terrace Marshall, I think splitting hairs between them two, I really like both prospects a lot. And ultimately, I ended up putting Wallace first because I like Wallace better. I'm going to enjoy watching him more. And that's a look behind where my rankings come from. But in terms of wide receiver, when I'm drafting a wide receiver, I think when I'm splitting hairs, I prefer volume to QB play. Like if both quarterbacks have question marks, like today somebody was asking about Claypool or Judy. And for me, I'm going to take the guy that I know is going to be the number 2 target on that offense, regardless of who's playing quarterback, then the guy that's going to be, even if it's just for 2021, the guy that's going to be probably the 3rd target on that offense with questionable QB after this year. So I like targets more than I like who's throwing the ball.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I'm taking the volume over the quality QB play. I thought that'd be against the grain actually, but I'm glad you agree with me. But my reasoning is you've only got to look back at 2019. My Buccaneers had an awful quarterback in Jameis Winston. Like just throw to the defenders more than he did his own team. But you see how good Chris Godwin was that season because he locked onto him with so many targets. So yeah, I'll take the volume all day. And going back to Tylan Wallace, I like the comp of Stephon Diggs. Perhaps quite, not quite reached that high ceiling, but I've got him as 9 in this class, so I'm pretty low considering. But for me, he's
I can see the death there from Linda.
For me, he's got one of the highest ceilings. So if he does land on the right spot, then absolutely he would outdo that low ranking from me, and I do apologise.
At least it's not out of the top 10. So.
Well, before we move on, Linda, I'm going to throw a question to you. I know I've not got it on the show sheet, so I'm sorry about that, but it's an easy one. I just want to know, Linda, obviously we know that Oklahoma are your team, Oklahoma State. Who would you take then first in your rookie drafts between Wallace or Chuba Hubbard?
Well, I'm not like a zero running back. I don't want to be like grouped with him, but I prefer wide receivers to running back. So I'm still taking Tylan Wallace first. Also, I think I can get both depending on where I'm at in a draft. So
yeah, no, I dig it. Right, so we'll move on then to the tight end prospect. There's only really one I think that stands out, is arguably one of the most exciting prospects at the position that we've seen in a long time, and that's Florida's tight end Kyle Pitts. Linda, give me a landing spot for Pitts that you'd fall in love with.
Yeah, this is definitely the biggest dream. Like, it's probably not going to happen, but I'd love to see him go to the Chargers with Herbert and Keenan Allen, and in that offense with Austin Eckler, just unlocking every star position you could need, which sucks. Like, as a Broncos fan, I don't want the Chargers to get any better, but as a fantasy football player, I just think that's the ultimate spot for Pitts.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been on the record saying this for months, that if he landed in the Chargers, that they'd definitely be my favorite AFC team. That offense will be absolutely loaded with one of my favorite quarterbacks as well. So Pitts is the best tight end prospect that I've ever ranked and scouted. He's got to be the smoothest 240-pound monster that I've ever seen. And he had all his success in his teens. He's only 20 years old, which is just unbelievable. Looked at the film, he absolutely bullied the defenders at the college level. He had 12 touchdowns in 2020 in just 8 games, which for a tight end is pretty ridiculous. So yeah, I'm going to be drafting pretty high. To think that he's only 20, he could reasonably have a 15-year NFL career at the position. And I can certainly see him being taken as high as number 4. A few mocks have had him, the Falcons, if they don't trade back, they could be taking Pitts, and I probably wouldn't blame them. So yeah, I'd probably be happy to take him at the 104, 105 spot in rookie drafts. So that's obviously got him pretty highly ranked.
Yeah, like you said, Linda, I think the Chargers would be so good for Pitts. But then, as you also said, I can't see him falling that far, to be honest. I can't see him getting past the Panthers at pick 8, and then even before that, maybe the Dolphins at 6. Ali, you've just said even the Falcons at 4. I think all of those are possibilities. So I can't see it happening, but I do absolutely love it. We've obviously seen the success that Hunter Henry's had with the Chargers. And then, as you just said, Ali, Pitts is a whole different animal. Big physical tight end with unreal athleticism. His college dominator rating, 92nd percentile. His breakout age, 95th percentile. So just shows his I get lost for words when I'm talking about Pitts, because he is such an unreal prospect at the tight end position. Got all the tools to be the next great tight end in the NFL. As you say, the Chargers have now got their franchise quarterback in Herbert, who's a gunslinger, and I think they could use Pitts in multiple ways over there in LA. He'll probably slot in as the second option behind Keenan Allen as well. So he has got that potential to be an instant fantasy asset. Linda, where would you take Pitts in Superflex rookie drafts? And would you be drafting him expecting him to be an instant impact, or do you think he's going to be like a lot of other tight ends and maybe take a little time to develop?
Well, I don't want to say he's going to be like other tight ends, but I think with the tight end position, you can, if you're going to draft him, people are talking about drafting 101 in Superflex. I can't. It's not going to be me. That's fine. I love the positivity behind that, but it's not. I can't get behind that. I do think it's going to take some time. It's not going to be an instant. I just don't. Are we going to have a preseason this year? Probably not. We didn't have one last year. We saw how that affected rookies and how immediately people flipped on them. So, and then at the tight end position, how often it takes for them to become an NFL relevant tight end, a fantasy relevant tight end. I think you have to draft him with the expectation that it's going to take a year. And if it doesn't, all the more better. But I'm not taking him till 104, 105 in rookie drafts. I can't get behind a super flex league taking a tight end before a starting quarterback.
Yeah, I think just echoing the earlier sentiments, I think Pitts on the charge to be stonks. Tight end won him in my college prospect model. Everything you want in a fantasy tight end: athleticism, size, production, upside, good looks. I mean, even in real life, even with those 5 high quality rookie quarterbacks, it's nailed on. He goes inside that top 10. I wouldn't be drafting him if I'm a huge contender. I think it's foolish to hope he's going to be a fantasy star in year one, but he is an ideal pickup for a rebuilding team where you can give a little bit more time before you need him to fire for your dynasty roster. I think pick 4 is the ceiling, and that's the same in both PPR and Titan Premium rookie drafts. I think he should be top 9 minimum, any format. That's got to be his floor for me. If he's dropping past that, you need to be getting all over Pitts. But the only word of caution is if you're taking Pitts, just to have that veteran to cover you in year one while he's still getting acclimatized to the NFL as a young dude, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I know I just said how excited I'm about him coming into the NFL, but he is still a tight end, and I would not be reaching for him in my rookie drafts, that is for sure. So we'll move on to the next section then. This is the wildcard section. This is where we get as guests to pick one player that they believe will be their fantasy wildcard, a player that will improve their dynasty value in 2021. Linda, you caught us off guard with this one for sure, but who have you got as your wildcard selection?
I couldn't not do it. It's Blake Jarwin. I'm sorry, but this is where we are. Last year I touted Blake Jarwin all off season, and then he got injured like first catch of 2021. I cried. I was like, what? We're never gonna know if I was right. Like, what the fuck? But I'm sorry if I'm not allowed to say that. But so
you can say whatever you want, Linda.
But a lot of what I heard last season was that there were too many mouths to feed in that offense, and I think they pretty much put that to bed last year before Dak got injured, and even after Dak got injured. And then you add to the fact that Dak likes his tight ends. He's buddies with Blake Jarwin. I mean, they're friends. They're tight. I think because the tight end landscape is it's so hard to pick a top 12, and because of that, I think it's so easy for tight ends that people forget about to sneak into that top 12. I have he's going late. He goes late in every startup. I'm going to throw that dart every time. And if you get one of the top tight ends, that's fantastic. But in realness, if you include Kyle Pitts, there are 4 top tight ends. Beyond that, you're winging it, and you either get lucky or you don't. So I have no problem throwing that dart to a team that showed that they were going to use the tight end position, that are going to throw the ball enough times to feed that many mouths. And then both coming back off injury, had Dak gone somewhere else, I might be more concerned. People ask if I'm worried about Schultz. I'm not worried about Schultz. Schultz is more of a blocking tight end than a catching tight end. And when Blake Jarwin got hurt, Schultz had to step up, but I don't think he did enough to take a big bite out of Jarwin's targets. So I'm back all the way back in.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you, Linda. This was a really interesting selection for us to analyse. I know Matt will love this because he treats every league as a tight end premium. He's a big fan of the tight end. But yeah, I mean, Jarwin, he's going as a tight end 25 in round 16 of Superflex startups. His teammate Schultz he's only going a few tight ends behind him, tight end 28, but like we saw, Jarwin's a starter before he tore his ACL, and he'll be the starter moving forward. He's only 26. He's tied to the elite option in Dak Prescott, like you mentioned. So I do love this as a wildcard selection with someone that's got a massive upside to really increase his value in 2021. And then you've got to think as well that there's a likelihood that one out of Gallup or Cooper leaves the end of the season as well. So it could be even bigger for him on the horizon. So question for you, Linda. What kind of 2021 do you think Jarwin will have? Can he be a top 12 tight end in this offense?
Yeah, I think he'll be a tight end 1 come end of 2021, which I said last year, and I stand by. I think there was plenty of catches that Schultz had that had Jarwin been the tight end, it would have been a touchdown. It just wasn't his skill set. So I think Schultz finished like tight end 13, maybe tight end 11, something like that at the end of last year. And I don't see Jarwin finishing any later than that at all. Yeah.
Certainly, this is a definition of a wild card pick for me. I love it, and Jarwin is a great buy low for this off season. We've obviously only played in one game last season. You've seen how high powered this offense is with Dak now signed, and Jarwin's locked in for this season. They can get out in 2022 with a $2 million cap hit. But I've been a bit of a Jarwin truther myself. And I'm taking him in every startup at the minute, right at the bottom of drafts. So only 26 years old, so he's sort of now hitting his peak age for a tight end. So another quick question, Linda. What do you think the cost is at the minute to acquire Jarwin in terms of a trade?
Well, I don't know, because everybody knows that I love Jarwin, so they upcharge the shit out of me. But I think you could probably get him. You know, he's a rookie pick, like a 3rd or 4th round rookie pick, and a flyer probably. You know, a guy like Anthony Ferkser that nobody is talking about. Somebody like that people go, okay, whatever. I don't think you're going to have to move any key pieces of your offense, of your fantasy or defense if you play IDP, to acquire him.
Yeah, I completely agree, Linda. I was thinking around about a 3rd round pick in maybe even a 4th, like you said. Obviously, if it was you, I'd be wanting a 1st round pick from you. But yeah, I think 3rd round spot on. The only little thing, I don't want to throw any water onto this flame that you've got, Linda. But do you think there's any chance maybe that they target a tight end in the draft? Is that something that concerns you? Or are we all in? Are we all in on Jarwin?
No, absolutely. If Jerry Jeudy has the or not Jerry Jeudy, Jesus Christ. If
Jerry Jones.
Thank you. Jerry Jones. If Jerry Jones can get to Kyle Pitts, he will. Like they need to focus on defense, or else they're going to keep throwing 800 times a game because they have to play catch up. But if Kyle Pitts is there, he will absolutely do it because he's an asshole. But I'm not worried about them outside of Kyle Pitts. I'm not worried about it.
Okay. Yeah, that was more what I was getting at, because I think, like you said, I don't think they're in a position to get Pitts. If they do end up being in that position, I have no doubt that they would get him. But yeah, I was thinking more maybe the lower guys like Jordan and the other tight ends. But yeah, we're all in then on Blake Jarwin.
Yeah, I can't put any water on this fire.
we should have known, really, Linda. I mean, we all follow you on Twitter. We should have known this was going to be your wild card pick. We thought it was this or maybe Brandon McManus. I thought you were going to throw in a kicker as your wild card.
No, I won't do that to you guys.
Right, so that brings us to the end of the show. I'm sorry, Linda, that we didn't talk about any rookie kickers, but it's been great having you on, and obviously we've discussed your NFL draft dreams and your wild card selection of Blake Jarwin. So I just want to say thank you. Obviously, I know you're a bit under the weather and you have a bit of a fever, so we appreciate you coming on. Do you have anything you'd like to share or plug before we let you go?
The only thing, Fantasy Football Confidential, we've got Scott Fish on next Wednesday, and I think he's going to do the Scott Fish Bowl rules right beforehand, so that might be a show people want to catch, but otherwise we're on every Wednesday at 9 Eastern, and then, like you said, you can find all my stuff at Dynasty Rewind. My rookie rankings are behind the Patreon there, and then Dynasty rankings should be out here shortly.
Love it. Anything from you guys, Kev, Ali? Anything else to add?
Yeah, just a massive thank you for coming on the show, Linda. You've been a fantastic guest. We've loved hearing about your dream landing spots. And like Matt touched upon at the start of the show, you're one of the most genuine people in the community, one of the nicest people. You've got plenty of banter, so just keep doing what you're doing. We've really enjoyed having you on. You're also our first ever female guest on the show, so we couldn't have anybody else really. You're like we said, you're fantasy football royalty, and also we're super excited that you're going to be part of the charity streamathon in May with you and Troy King being in the finale. So we're looking forward to that, and we've had an awesome time today, and I'm sure we'll have another awesome time on May 22nd.
Yeah, Troy and I are looking forward to it. And I appreciate you guys booking me 2 months in a row. That was ballsy, but I appreciate it.
Just want to reiterate what Kev said. Just thanks for coming on, Linda, and just gracing us with your presence, especially as you're not feeling very well. So it means even more to us. So yeah, thanks for that. And yeah, just check out the Streamathon and keep donating to our charity.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say thank you for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter at Fantasy Wildcard. We have his Linktree site on his Twitter page where you can find his podcast and his show on YouTube. So please do check it out and be sure to subscribe. His next show is Tuesday, the 20th of April, where we're going to be analysing the Dynasty tight end landscape, finishing off that series. So thanks once again. Have a good one, and we'll see you again soon.
See you later.
Bye.